Great. There's somebody else in the waiting room. Rebecca, would you like to start and introduce yourself? Wait, where'd you go? You moved. There you are.
Yes, here I am. Hi, my name is Rebecca Moonstone, and I'm one of the 3 CSN coordinators there, and just welcome.
Yeah, great. Hi, everybody. My name is Josh Miller. I am the Communication Studies Department Chair at Los Angeles Valley College. I am also, we have 9 colleges in our district, and I'm one of the District Guided Pathways coordinators. About 4 or 5 months ago, like a year ago, we got a grant. About 4 or 5 months ago, I started training. It's something called the it's Poker Training Peer Online Course Review. And through that, somehow I started becoming really good at Canvas. And now I'm creating some exemplary courses. I get trained often. And then because I work with 3CSN, such a fantastic organization through my Pathways work, I got involved in this and I said, hey, is there any way I can start doing some training here? And I think this is now my 6th week of training. And each week we try something different and new and a little bit more detailed. So this is our first session on syllabus. So what will happen today is I'm going to show you PowerPoint, talk through some concepts, and then I'm going to show you my syllabus. And at any point, what I'm going to do is, like, for example, I'll do the PowerPoint, then I'll pause, see if there are any questions. And as I move from section to section, if there are any questions, just type them into the chat. And then, Rebecca will read them to me and I'll answer them. Okay. So let me share my screen. Hold on here. This is not happening. Okay.
No.
I can't share for some reason.
Okay.
Screen sharing has failed to start.
Huh. Interesting. Okay, hold on. Let me check for you. You should be able to.
Always a new glitch somewhere.
Always. Okay. You are a co-host, so you should be able to share.
Let's try it again.
Okay.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay.
All right.
So here on behalf of 3CSN, it's a fantastic network. So we're doing all this Canvas training. There's going to be a lot of new and interesting trainings that are going to come up through the summer and the fall. Once we can go face to face, we hold some great conferences and get together. So we're glad we're all here. It's really about piloting, strengthening, revising, institutionalizing, redesign content. And the bottom line for all of this is student success and professional learning. So we're happy that you're here. So let's get to this session. So obviously this is going to be on the syllabus and some of the learning goals. And the first and the most important thing is focus on the syllabus from the student perspective. If you've taken a class recently, I think hopefully you have, and that will kind of put you back into that student mindset. I've taken so many online courses recently and I realize I've kind of lost that. I've lost that, what it's like to sit in that classroom, what it's like to log into that class for the very first time, and that kind of fear and uncertainty that's involved with that. So as you're designing your syllabus and your course in general, think about how would students see the content? How do they see you? How do they interact? That kind of stuff. So the first thing, with all of this, because your syllabus is really sort of the instruction manual for your course, is you have to think about what your course is all about. So what are the learning goals? How did you get there? How do students perceive what you're doing? And that's really important. I was going through my syllabus this morning, even though I think it's a pretty solid syllabus. I hit on a couple things. I was like, oh my God, this is a really big flaw in my syllabus. And I didn't fix it because I want you to see it, because I was trying to read that from the student perspective. And I went, that's a little problem right there. Okay. So the thing to think about with your syllabus is that it's a directory, or it's kind of an index. So in the past, you might have, had a document. So my syllabus used to be 3 pages long, and it had about 28 rules of the class. And my rules were pretty serious, and straightforward. But my personality in telling stories about my syllabus the very first day, it imposed the seriousness of the rules, I guess, but also it lightened it at the same time. So I let students know the expectations of the course, but then I was able to contextualize it with stories and conversation with them and get them involved in the syllabus. I can't really do it the same way online. So I have to find a way to orient them with my personality and let them know that there are expectations for the course, but in a way that doesn't sort of threaten them or make them or alienate. And that's important. So think about how when you develop your course, how will students interact with it through this index? So we're going to go through content, the tone, the syllabus on Canvas, and how to find a syllabus template on Commons. Okay. Any questions or comments so far? All right. Oops. Okay. So one thing to think about when I talk about the student perspective, so as I'm developing these courses, I'm also doing a bunch of research. So I found other courses on syllabus design and training, and I found a great one at Valley College I didn't even know existed. It's a Canvas course on how to design your syllabus. And this is one thing that the instructor for this course did what's called a word cloud, where students put in the things that they're thinking about. And this was from a class that I believe he was teaching. And these are some of the things that kind of popped up. So we have to be mindful of that when we're constructing this, especially now, right? So students are going through a lot. If you've had conversations with your students lately, I mean, I have a number of students that have ended up jobless, homeless. I'm Zooming students now in other states because they had to go back home because they couldn't afford to live here anymore. I had a class that was a lot of football students, and the football students had to, it wasn't a good thing. So we have to consider, what our students are going through. So when you think about this, the students are going through their debt, it's dropping out, their, loneliness, stress. So they're going through a lot, and we can build in a syllabus and content into our courses that helps them without compromising the integrity of the course. And that's something I want to really impress upon you, is a lot of people think, oh, well, I have to make my course easier for my students. No, you don't, but you can make it clearer, and the syllabus is the beginning of that. This is just not working. Okay. So when you think about your content of your syllabus, and I'm going to show you what it looks like in a sec. Obviously, you want to have your name, your contact, the text or the book that you're using. You should have your SLO. So I don't know if it's a local rule, but I know in the LACCD, we have to have our SLOs on our syllabus. What's the basis for grading? How are you going to grade? That's important because you can orient students in your syllabus, but also you can explain your grading on each assignment. Because I've seen people say, I'm going to grade, I'm going to do this in the syllabus, but it doesn't give very specific information. So when you're going to grade an assignment, have it in your syllabus how you're going to grade, or have it on the assignment, or have a rubric. Because the clearer you are with how you're going to grade it, the easier it is for students to meet those commitments, okay? Obviously, you have to have an accommodation statement for students with disabilities. You should have a reference to the student code of conduct as it applies to academic dishonesty. And that's important. So you might have something in your syllabus, you might have something in your college catalog or your schedule of classes or something. You should also have online support, your Canvas and your local support. That's important because how do people interface with Canvas in general? So Canvas is fantastic because they have 24-hour support, but maybe that support isn't Canvas-based, maybe it's local-based, because it's pretty rare, but I have had students that cannot access the Canvas course, and it's a registration issue or there's certain local issues. So you need to be very clear on what that is. So here's Canvas if you need something, here's a local information. And then also the library, student services, health, and mental services. Okay. Next, I want to go back here real quick. In terms of name and contact, I was forgetting something here. With your contact, make sure you're very specific and clear with the types of contact and how they should contact you. And I'll show you mine, but I have multiple ways students can contact me or communicate with me. So they can either, I recommend against using my regular email address. I don't even put it in my syllabus because I want them to contact me on Canvas. But I also set up a pinned discussion so students can communicate with each other on this pinned discussion. So discussions always at the top of discussions, and they can ask questions and deal with each other, which is great. If you're going to do Zoom, let them know there. So I let my students know now, and it's been very successful that I do Zoom sessions once a week with the entire class. and just half an hour, just answer any questions, just to, touch base. And then another thing I do is I set up individual Zooms. And this has given me such a great insight into my students, because when my class had a transition from face-to-face to online, a lot of students weren't doing the work. And I found out it was interesting that I teach public speaking, they had to record themselves. There was interesting fear of recording on the part of many students, and I wouldn't know that unless I was talking to them face-to-face. Okay. All right. So another thing to do, if you ever, I showed that word cloud before, is word cloud your syllabus. So when we talk about tone of your syllabus, right? So how does your syllabus sound to the people that are reading it, right? Is it success-based? Is it failure-based? So how you infuse your personality and how you talk to your students is really important in that. Because if mine is very punitive based, my syllabus initially. So words like failure and failure to complete, those are big and those are prominent in my face-to-face classes. But again, I could contextualize it. I could have that conversation with them and I could talk to them and say, but here's this, and here's an example of where you could get out of this. So like I have a very strict no phone in the class rule on my syllabus, but I explain to them, I understand, I get it. I have issues too. I'm addicted to my phone, all that kind of stuff. Okay. So are there any questions real quick? All right. So let's get what you're here for. And let's look at a syllabus. Okay. So this is what my syllabus used to look like. So my syllabus, when I first started teaching public speaking, it was basically like this. So I took the syllabus that I had that was face-to-face and I just copied and pasted. Initially, I had it as a PDF attachment. That's something I recommend against. The reason why I recommend just avoiding attachments in general for your class is that they may not be accessible. So if you have a PDF for your class and you're not sure that it's accessible, so by accessible means that if a blind student were to interact with that and they have a reader, I think one's called JAWS, are the headings there, are the lists properly, is it accessible for the people that can't see it? Most of the time, if you've set up a PDF, it is not accessible. And even Word documents are not accessible. So that's something to really think about. Do you need that external document? So my very first time I taught a course, I had a PDF. And then I heard that wasn't good. So then I just copied and pasted. So this is what it looks like. And this isn't a bad thing, okay? But the reason why I recommend against, just sort of copying, pasting your syllabus is because when you scroll down, so where's tech support? Where's Title IX, all that kind of stuff? It's all there, okay? It's definitely all there. All the information they need is there. But the problem is that how many times in your class have you said, did you read the syllabus, or it's in the syllabus, okay? Well, you want to create a syllabus for your class where students aren't going to ask you those questions, or they're not going to have to scroll. They know exactly where it is in the syllabus. And one thing I've discovered in my classes, since I set up my syllabus a new way, the questions that I used to get all the time, I almost never get. And I don't have to say it's in the syllabus, because a lot of times when you say that, it's kind of snarky. It's not super nice. But now they know where to go to find that information on their own. So they become sort of more proactive. So again, that's what it used to look like. Okay. You notice one thing I don't have here is I don't have a schedule. The reason why I don't have a schedule, if you don't know this is about Canvas, when you get to the bottom of your syllabus, once you've put in all of the assignments, it gives the schedule for you. So you're being redundant if you set up a schedule for them. So these are all the assignments for the class, and these are the due dates. So once you start to develop those due dates, and you can put in due dates here without having the assignment actually be active. Okay, so again, when you set up the assignment, it will pop up here automatically. So you don't have to do that. So let's go back here. Oh, here's another thing too. When you think about how students are going to interface with the course, notice that if they had to go to the syllabus, they had to go all the way down here. And they had all of these little things. So I'm going to show you a little trick real quick before I get to my syllabus. Look at all of this stuff that my students kind of had to navigate through. And they didn't need most of them. I mean, most of these things they would never access. So in case you didn't know, you can actually change what they interface with here on the side. So if you think of all the things they can see here versus now what they can see, all of these things with these eyeball crossed off, that means that students can't access it. They can't see it. So when they log into the course, so let me show you something real quick. So if you look here, all of these things with the eyeballs, that's what the student eyeballs crossed off. That's what the students can't see. So if you go over here to your home page, and then you go to student view, see what that does? It takes off so many of the things that students can access. The reason why I do that is because if you have all of these things, students are going to start playing around with them. So to access the assignments and to access the discussions, students have to click on the modules to get there. Because the problem is that if the students can just go right to the assignments or right to the discussions from the left here, they're going to go there first, and they might need that wraparound information. So just real quick, let me show you how to do that. We've got to leave student view. So if you're on your left here and you go to settings, and then you go to navigation. So again, settings, navigation. And if once you get to navigation, what you'll see, these are all the possibilities that you can activate for your students. And there's a lot of them. So if you want to limit what they can access here, all you do is, let's say, for example, I want them to see grades, but they can see their grades anyway, okay, I think. So you just move this up here, and then you just hit save. Okay, and if I want to get rid of something, I move it down here, and then I hit save. Okay, so I have some stuff here that you may not have. You might have stuff that I don't have, but it's just a way to kind of move things up and down. Okay, I hear a lot of beeping. Are there any questions?
Yes, there are.
Let's do it.
All righty then. So some of the questions are, I have a couple of questions, is can you demonstrate how to get an assignment on the schedule without actually having the assignment live yet?
It's based upon your due date. So that's kind of a side thing. If I have time at the end, I'll focus on that because you can set the due date for it, but you can lock it. Okay, so I'll get to that at the end. So that's something I can show you.
All right. Next question: the assignments pop up under the syllabus automatically?
Yes.
And I think you said yes.
Yeah,
to that.
I didn't do anything to that. That's just where they show up. So, and just so you know, with student view as well, so students will get that. So they'll get all the assignments on the bottom here, but students, so you have to scroll all the way down to get there, but students will also get a calendar like this with everything that's due for them. And when they log in, they'll see something on the side that says upcoming. So when students say they didn't know, there are multiple ways they know. So that's one of those things when somebody says, I didn't know it was due, I'm like, come on. It's in multiple places. It's all over Canvas. So odds are when students say they didn't know, it's because they haven't been logging in. Any other questions?
Yes, and that is because you answered part one of that, but it says, do they pop up before they are published? So you said yes. And then that is, can students see something is coming up but not read the details?
So it wouldn't pop up before published. So you can publish it, but you can lock it. Okay. And what was the second part? What was that?
Well, you pretty much answered it, but not read the details.
Okay. Yeah. So, and that's a philosophical conversation to have with yourself. So for me, I actually have everything in my entire class unlocked until the very end. So I have the due dates, and because what kind of student am I? I'm the kind of student that would like to see everything in advance. Yeah. So it kind of depends, you know, it really depends. So a lot of times people lock it and it doesn't open up until this date, or you have to do those things. I roll it out. I roll out the entire, or what I have available, because sometimes I'm not done with the end of the course as I've started, but courses that I'm done with, I roll it out and they can see every single assignment up until the end, and they can see all due dates. So for me, a good example is my class. Like I have a packet from my face-to-face classes. I have a packet with all the assignments and all the instructions, and then I give them a schedule with the due dates. So to me, unlocking the assignments and letting them view it is that same concept. So, ask yourself why you lock stuff and why you don't want them to see everything in advance. And maybe there's a legitimate reason. I mean, there possibly is. I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but it's not a bad idea also to let them review all the material. Any other questions?
Last one is just curious, why do you have grades hidden?
No good reason, to be honest. This is actually, so I think the reason why I ended up hidden on that one is because this shell that I've been using is my is kind of my working shell. It's not a real shell, and I've moved it back and forth multiple times. That's why. It's not. I don't have it hidden for a reason. I just have it hidden because the last time I probably taught using this shell, I moved it and then forgot about it. So. But you can let students, there was somebody asked me a question about that, and they had a reason to hide grades. And I don't remember what it was, but no, I do have grades available for my students to review. That's just, it's because it's my sample. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So let's go to my syllabus now. So syllabus before, you scroll up and down, you get all this stuff, syllabus now. All my syllabus now, and I have a lot more content. My syllabus probably has 5 times as much content now as it did before. But you see what I've done here is I've set it up as sort of, like I said, index or a series of links. The reason why I do this is because students don't have to scroll. They can just go to the syllabus and it's all very clear and it's all right here. And what I've done here is my syllabus is not only a series of links, it's also my very first module. So when students engage in the class, what they do here is they kind of go through this information and then they can go, so have them engage with all of this first. So one of the things you have to think about is sort of the tone and what is your introduction email. So that's one thing I definitely recommend is you send them an introduction email, tell them where to begin, right? Orient them, here's what you're going to do. Here's where you're going to start. So my introduction email would always say, hey, congratulations, public speaking, your number one fear, blah, 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 blah. You're going to, and you can provide links for them too. So assuming they're already in Canvas, if you don't know, every single page on Canvas is its own link. Okay, so this is a link. So if you go to home, okay, so if you can take you different pages. So I would give them the link to it as well. So they can log into Canvas, but they can also log into their link. Okay, so then I've built it so it's all here and it's all my first module. And then what they do is then they just scroll through it. So I have them scroll through each page just to orient themselves. Contact me, getting help. And these are important pages as well. Because if you look at my pages, what do the students want the most in class? If you have a link for a textbook, they probably want that because they're going to need to access that regularly. They want to communicate and they want to know some of the basic rules of the course. So if you look to my syllabus, I have that all here. Okay. Now, how do you do this? So this is a little bit time consuming initially because each one of these is its own page. So you do have to develop this page. So what you would have to do, let's say, for example, you have about your instructor page, you would have to go to pages. Then you'd have to go to view all pages plus a page. And then you'd have to type out some information about yourself. And then you would have to title it. Okay, so for each one of these, and that's why it's time consuming, you do have to set up a separate page. So if I go back to my syllabus, you'll see that I have, about 15 pages here. And that's why it does take a little while initially. That's why a lot of people, it's so much easier to take the syllabus you've had in your class for 20 years and copy and paste it. But once you do it that first time, you can import it all into all of your future classes. So when I developed this, the very first thing I did was I just set all of my pages. So I thought, okay, what is this page for? What is this page? What is this page for? And I wrote the content out for every single page, okay? And then you save them. And then what you do is that when you have your pages saved, you go to your syllabus, you just click on syllabus, and then you hit edit. Okay. Oh, just so you know too, when students go to syllabus, there's a button up here that says jump to today. It tells you things that are coming up. Okay. So you hit edit, and each one of these is a link to a page. Okay. So again, this assumes you've set up all these pages. So here's a good example. So let's go to recording mistakes. Don't do these. I title these exactly what I title the pages. So let's pretend like we don't have this one. So if you just type it out, you don't have anything. Okay, so again, I title it the same way. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll set up a second browser with the course already up as well, in case I forget what it's titled, so I can just toggle back and forth. So you type it out, you highlight it, and then everything over here, these are your links. Okay, so I would go to pages. And again, this assumes I have all these pages. So this is my recording mistakes page. As you can tell, I have a lot of pages. I just click on that, update syllabus. So that makes it an active link. So now when the student goes to this and they go, what are those mistakes? They click on here and it takes them to that page. Okay, do I need to do that again? Was that clear? Talk to me. What do you need? That same, okay. All right, cool. So then that's it. I mean, that's really all it is just setting it up. And then what you do to make it a module, it's the same thing. So, I've done module courses. So I'm not going to get too far into modules, but, so this is kind of the module that I have here. And then I just titled it syllabus and getting started. And then when you create a module, if you want to add something to your module, you just hit the plus button and then go to pages. And then you can insert any of the pages wherever you want. So here's a good example. So here is a test page. So you add your item, and then what you do here, whenever you have something new that you add up into here, it always ends up on the bottom, and then you can just kind of drag it wherever you want. And then you want to get rid of it, you can remove it too. Okay. So then what I do is I embed each page. So now when the students need that information, how do I grade? Where are the recording mistakes? Where are the Canvas quick links? Where's the textbook? It's either A in module 1 or B in syllabus. And it's all there. It's pretty simple and it's pretty straightforward. Are there any questions about that?
Yes, they're kind of being answered as we go along. But why do you not just make a module with link to syllabus? Do you understand that? Or should
I get that. The reason why I do that is because, so a module is a learning unit. That's the concept of a module. And I want their very first learning unit to be an orientation in the syllabus. Because I know I tell students to go to the syllabus, but I also want them to, it's reinforcement. I mean, that's one of the key concepts. That's one of the most important things I've learned through all this training I've done lately is the more you reinforce knowledge in the class, the less questions you're going to have, the more successful the students are. And I have to admit, the way I've learned to design this has proved that true. Because so many of the questions I would get, I don't get those anymore. So that's why, just doubling up on the knowledge.
Okay.
Anything else?
All right. All right. Very good. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Now, when you're deciding on what content to put in here, you also have to ask yourself, how are you titling it? What kind of information is in here? So as I said earlier, I made a mistake with my syllabus and I didn't catch it until this morning. And I was going to fix it, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to tell you why this is a mistake. So let's say, for example, a student wants to figure out, they need some Canvas support. Okay, where would they get that Canvas support on my syllabus? And this is a flaw in my syllabus because look what I have here. I have getting started with syllabus, with Canvas. I have online learning resources. I have Canvas quick links, and I have tech services and computer resources. Okay, none of those are clear. So if a student had an issue, they probably wouldn't know where to go. So while each one of these has information that's necessary, so here's Canvas support right here, but it's under getting started with Canvas. So what I would probably do, I might change the title of this to Getting Started with Canvas and Canvas Support. Or I might have separate pages, one that says Canvas support and local support, something like that. So what I need to do with all of these pages is I need to reorient some of them. So for example, this online learning resources might be perceived as Canvas support, but it's actually how to do better online with content. So online learning tips, netiquette guidelines. Well, I have an earlier page that has some of this information as well. So just so you know, I didn't develop any of these. So your local campus might have templates, and I'm going to show you in a minute how to find templates off of the Commons. This was just a template that I found. I literally just copied and pasted this page. I didn't develop any of this. I know it looks cool and neat. I didn't do it. Okay, but you wouldn't know to go there either. Okay, and then Canvas quick links. So what does that mean, right? So all of these things are helpful. Like this should be part of the introduction to Canvas orientation, because here's, if they want to find their grades or, using the inbox, all of these things. So I should set that up as one page. So these 4 pages should actually be 2 pages. And I need clear titles so they know where to get that information from. Okay. So let's go home. And let's go to Commons. So if you don't know what the Commons is, it's a repository of information. And you can find everything. So if you kind of like my homepage, I have these kind of cool buttons on the bottom. There are home pages already set up with buttons, and these are just links. So just like this is a link to a different page, these are just links to a page as well, but they're just graphic-based links. So if you click on any of this, so if you're a student in my class and you want to access the syllabus, you can access the syllabus here, or you can go to the home page and access it here. Okay, so I build a lot of redundancy in it. So another example as well is when I get into some of my assignments later on, especially the more complicated assignments, and people ask me questions like, well, is it okay if I turn it in late? In that assignment, what I'll probably do is provide a link here. Here's my, in case you're going to ask about turning things in late, here's a link to my policy. Okay, so let's go back home. And let's go to import from Commons. So again, the Commons is a repository. So this is good if you're trying to find content for your courses, quizzes, modules, all kinds of stuff. You can find absolutely everything. So let's do syllabus. So I just put in syllabus template on the Commons. And as you can see with the syllabus template, I have 38 results. Okay, so what this basically means, what it allows you to do, it allows you to sort of import a framework or some samples, and you may use those. So as you can see, I imported kind of a sample page that I use. You got to add the wraparound content for it, but you can kind of go, okay, what do I have here? Some of them are very specific to a campus, but let's see, let's look at this one. So sometimes you might think, I don't want Indiana University online course template, but what they might have is some cool buttons. Sometimes not. So this is an entire course. We want syllabus. So here's an interactive syllabus template. Okay, so basically what you can do is you could import all of this with the little graphics and everything, and you could use it. I mean, that's what I've done with my syllabus. I've imported tons of information. I was like, oh, that's great. A lot of the information is fantastic. Now you might have to obviously change some of this information, because it's specific to a university or a college, and update it to meet yours. But it is like you can survive an active shooter, all kinds of stuff. And it'll give you a lot of ideas for what to put in your class as well. So if you're looking kind of a basic syllabus template, the only thing you have to be careful of is that make sure that this class is not active. I've never imported an entire syllabus to my course. I've imported individual pages. So I'm not sure if it's true or not, but one person that was attending a class last week said if you import a syllabus, it will erase the syllabus that you have and then replace it with this new one. So save that information just in case. But this, you notice how it has that same idea of the kind of the links here. It gives you some cool graphics here. You know, you can have the colors on there. So there are a lot of different ways you can import stuff. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll just import tons of things. So if you wanted to import this, just let me show you how to do it real quick. You go here to import download. Okay. And then from import download, what you do is you pick the course you want to import it into. One of my recommendations, if it's available at your campus, is to get a practice shell. So I don't know if you saw mine, but I probably have about 20 practice shells. I have a practice shell for each course in my department because I work with multiple individuals. But if they can give you a practice one, then you can just import stuff into the practice and fool around with it. So that's important to consider. If you don't have a practice one, just be mindful of when you import stuff in, because so you can see these are all the courses that I have to import things into. I have a lot of them, but I can click all. I can click on, say, for example, I want the syllabus into my development shell, and I'll import it into my development shell. Now, there are two options here. There's import and there's download. Now, import means you pull it into your shell, okay, right? So it'll be there. Download means you download it into your computer. So it'll be like a file in your computer. Now, downloading works if you want to, let's say, for example, you're an adjunct and you're teaching in two different campuses. Well, you're not going to be able to move your Canvas shell from one to another. You can download it into one, download it to your computer and import it into one shell and then import it into another shell. Or you can just import it separately. You would access the commons from the separate shells. So you import it. And once you import it, what will happen is it takes about a couple minutes. All the information that is here will be imported. So one of the things I recommend if you're going to import information into an active course, be careful of that, because once you import everything in, it may all be imported as active. I made that mistake once with my classes, and it really freaked them out, because it was like 30 announcements, so an entire term's worth of announcements, all these new assignments, quizzes, everything popped up for the students, and then everything showed as active. So I quickly had to go through and deactivate everybody. So if you're trying to import into an active class, let your students know. You say, hey, I'm going to be offline for about an hour, or do it late at night or something, and just let them know what's happening. Import it all in, and then once you get it in, then you can kind of deactivate it. So before I leave the comments, or any questions about the comments?
Okay, we do have some questions. It says, does your department require that you send them a copy of your syllabus? How do you do that?
So yes, kind of. So that's kind of an interesting quandary with this. So in the old days with syllabus, so it doesn't really require, but it's kind of those things that yes, we should let. So as my department doesn't, no, because I'm the department chair, but the school asks that people send syllabus to them in case there's an emergency with an instructor, they can't continue with the class. A lot of times people get asked for the syllabus for rules and policies because they are transferring to an out-of-state university and they want to check the articulation, like the course description. So that is a problem. Now that's one thing we haven't talked about on the campus, because I can't download this stuff as a PDF, but what I can do, and it kind of depends on who has access to it. So your department chair would have to have access to your courses. But as I said before, these are all links. So if you go to syllabus, see, this is a link. So you could get your department chair the link for your syllabus. Okay. So you can copy and paste it. So you can try that out. Email them a link and see if that professor can activate it to read it. And then you have access to it. Because that's what I plan to do with my department, because everybody's now online. And if I had all the links to all the syllabus, it'd be easier for me to navigate than a bunch of random PDFs and they have to do this whole process to upload it to a system. It's not effective, especially when we're advocating for this. Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Part two of that question, I'm sorry, I'm jumping down, is can you download the syllabus module and then send it to whomever?
Yes.
Okay.
So what you can do, so if you go to settings, so you can't really send to whomever. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. So you can do export course content. And then you have to create and export. The problem with exporting the entire course, so you can't really just do the syllabus. What you can do is you can create an export. Oops, I didn't mean to actually do that. So what that means is basically I'm kind of downloading and they can upload it. So with what I've done with this is I have, you notice I've done a couple of exports here already. I have done that because I've taken some training, so I needed to send my course to somebody else's course, but they would have to upload it. Another thing that you can do, is that, we were just on the Commons, you can share to Commons. So a good example of this, and I'm not sure what the heart of that question is with the sharing, is it to have your department chair see it or whatever that is. But when I was teaching intercultural communication face-to-face for the first time, I've never taught the class at all. And then when we were forced to go online, I didn't know what to do. So an instructor in my department has taught the class online for years. So I asked him to share his course. So he put his entire course on the Commons and I was able to import it. So you can import entire courses. So what you can do here is that if you can put your information on the Commons, and once it's on the Commons, you can decide who's going to see it. Okay, so maybe there's a consortium. I mean, a good example, depending on how versed your DE, folks are in your campus, you can actually set up a common system, or you can set up like a Canvas course for everybody in your department, and people can share information. So all of us can put all of them can put their syllabi in there. So if I wanted to download my course, what I could do is I could hit only me, all of LA Community College District. I gotta get rid of that first. Public. So I can put my entire course on the Canvas, on the Commons, and then other people can upload it. Okay, and depends on how you set it up. So there are multiple ways to do that.
Okay. How do you share tabs on a page?
How can I share?
How do you do tabs on a page?
So my tabs, that takes a little bit of work. The tabs that I have, so that's one of those things. A lot of these concepts, you can just kind of Google that. That would take a little while to explain, and you can just Google how do you share tabs or create tabs. My tabs I did not create. I imported those from the Commons. So I went to the Commons and I looked up pages with tabs and I found those. And then I Googled it. So I put that up there. So I've never actually created a tab. I just pulled them in from the Commons. And that's why I love it.
All right. Are your quick access images, links done on a page?
Yes. So let's go back to. So I assume you're talking about the home page. So yeah, so these are just images. And you can find these same images, the same concept. So if you were to just go to the Commons and put in home page with buttons, homepage with buttons will basically, this is it. So it's like creating a link. So what you're doing, so you just click on any of these. And then this is kind of set up. So these were specifically set up. I worked with an instructional designer and we developed these together. Now, when you want to develop your home page, you have to ask yourself, it's kind of the same thing as the concept of the syllabus. What do you want it to do? So my home page has my announcements on top. And I'll show you how to do that real quick. But I have a little bit of content. I have a bone-side video, not for anything else other than I was doing a sample with another class. but I have these quick access tabs. And these are just redundant for what's over here. So you don't necessarily need to have those. But when somebody logs in, what's nice is that when a student logs into my page, the very first thing they see is the announcements. And then they know to scroll down a little bit and they have access tabs. Okay. What do you want me to show you how it looks on the Commons, how to upload the buttons, or do you want announcements? Well, let's do announcements actually. If you want your students to see announcements, and it's a great way to communicate, it's in a really weird place. So I went to settings and then course details, settings, course details. And then down here, it says more options. Okay. So settings, course details, more options. And if, again, this is to show your students the announcements on the home page. And then what you do is you just decide, do you want the announcements or not? If yes, click there, and then you decide how many announcements you want. And then it'll show it. Then you hit update course details. Now, in terms of the home page, yes, so you do have to set up a page. And then what you have to do is you have to set that page as your home page. So if you go to any page, and then view all pages, I'll just pick a random page. Okay, so as you see, I just picked a random page here, and then I say use as front page. So that makes it your home page. And just kind of another interesting kind of tidbit, you know, since I'm here, if you ever have worked on a page multiple times and you think, oh my God, the way I wrote that page 6 months ago was so much better than now. If you go to your page and hit the three little dots here, there's something here called view page history. And that will take you to all the versions of that page. So it lets you go back in time. So it will save all of your versions. Okay. But also in terms of your homepage, you have to decide, and you can also choose your homepage from here. So if you want to click on whatever homepage you want, you know, what is that page? So you can have your homepage as your modules. You can have your homepage as your syllabus. So as soon as they log in, the very first thing they see every single time they log in is your syllabus. And that's very effective. They can see the list of assignments. They can see the course modules. I used to have it set up as course modules so they get right to work, but I like it now because what it does is they have these buttons to choose from. Now, some people will set up home pages as static, which I have, so it doesn't move. Some people will set up their home pages as more dynamic. So the reason why I do static is because my dynamic component is through my announcements. And this is static, but some people will do is they'll let the students know every Sunday on my homepage, I'm going to let you know, I'm going to give you some context for what's coming up this week. And I've taken courses that have done both, some that are static, some that are dynamic, both are fine. It's just my preference to have static plus announcements. What are some other questions? We have about 10 minutes. That's it?
There aren't any right now.
Okay. Well, we have about 10 minutes. I mean, I know it's a lot of information and a lot of different concepts. So if there's anything you want me to go back to or review, or if you have any questions, I'm happy to do it.
Okay, so a question is, what do you mean, what is the other side of static?
Static and dynamic. So static just means it is, I don't update the content on my homepage. Okay, so, but I've had other people, they'll update the content consistently on their homepage. So I've had one instructor every couple of days, they're like, here's what's coming up. This is what we're doing. You know, this is exciting. One class I took, which I liked, is that this instructor would, every Sunday would say, this is what's coming up this week. And so when you'd log in on a Sunday, you knew what was happening. And actually another kind of hint and tip when you're developing courses, try to have your assignments due on the same day of the week, if possible. Because think about in your face-to-face classes where students would always show up on a Tuesday and a Thursday, and then they knew like they could build their schedule around Tuesday and Thursday. But then you have this online course, and 1 week assignment's due on a Wednesday, the next week it's due on a Sunday, and then it confuses them because they can't build their schedule around it. So as you're developing assignments, try to build consistency into them. into both the design and the due dates, and that'll make your students' lives a lot easier. Any other questions? I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. The question is, does the LABC library link go to the library page or a Canvas course? Familiar with that?
So it's both. So what it is, not quite a Canvas course, but what our library has done is they've built in a library page, and so it's a Canvas page that the library has built, and then our DE coordinators added it to our shells. But like if you go to my syllabus and you go to Valley College, and that's the problem here, it's not clear here. You think student support, what does that mean? So I need to be clear on that. But then if you click on that, it takes you to the library. But you can access the exact same information. So so that was great that our library built that page, then added it.
Okay, another question. Do you have any additional tips for ensuring student engagement with the syllabus?
Well, callbacks. I mean, I think that's the most important thing is callbacks is why do you have that information in the syllabus? Okay, that's the thing. And then where are those points where the students might need it? And that's key. So how many times you've been in class where you've talked about something and student asks a question and you go, oh, it's in the syllabus. But what I've discovered in my face-to-face classes, usually they're asking those questions about the same point every single class, every single term, right? It's usually that I'm explaining that one assignment and they go, what about this? I'm like, oh man, that was in the syllabus, come on. So what I've done now for some of these cases, so for example, grading. So I have a page in my syllabus on how do I grade. And then what I do is in the pertinent areas in my courses, I link back to that. And I'll say, in case you're wondering how I grade, this explains it, okay? So it's the callback when necessary. A good example here is recording mistakes, don't do these. So I have that link when my students have, when they're just about to submit their assignment where they have to submit their speeches, I have this link there and saying, a lot of you are going to make these same mistakes, don't do these, and they link to it and they can go back to it. So build it into your courses because you're assuming very often that the students are going to know when to go to the syllabus and where to go in the syllabus and how that will help them. I help them help themselves. Any other questions?
Well, they've been answering as we go along, so no. If there is a question, please, that has not been answered, please put it in the chat.
All right.
Easy way. Okay. Oh, never mind. It's a comment. Never mind.
We're here. Come on. This is it. I'm here for you. Got you.
It says, will the materials shared here be sent to participants? And you want to answer that, or you want me to answer it, Joshua?
I didn't hear the.
Oh, I'm sorry. Will the materials shared here be sent to participants? We do share the video. We put the video up on the 3csn.org. A couple of questions that has been asked, Joshua, many times is if you will share the video. So what you could do, Joshua, is send the video. I sent you an email for that, but send the video, your PowerPoint, I'm sorry, not video, PowerPoint presentation to me.
Well, that will, so all of these, every single session we do is being recorded. So yes. It will always be, so you can access these. And so, you know, when we talked about in structure in design, so there's also one on modules. The one I really recommend for everybody, because a lot of your designing syllabus is also making it accessible, is that we have videos on accessibility and using the content editor. So for example, if we just go to a page here real quick, you know, so, you know, how these features work, and then how do you make your class accessible while using these features? So everything is on the 3CSN website. So yes, this will be up in about a week.
Mhm.
And then it'll be a link and you'll have access to the entire session. If you want just the PowerPoint itself for whatever reason, send an email to ask, I think it's ask3CSN, and they'll forward it to me and I'll get it to you.
Okay. When you publish assignments or quizzes, is it automatically sent out to the students?
It depends on their settings. So students, so for example, I don't know if you have this, you have settings as well. If you go to account and you go to settings. So if you've ever got, if you're getting 1,000 emails a day, this is where you discover where to do that. So notifications. So it's a little overwhelming if you didn't know this. So again, it's not the settings on your Canvas page, it's your account settings and then notifications. And then you can decide what you want to view and what you don't want to view. So most of my stuff, so a check means you want it, depending on account, so you can do all of these things. So notify me right away, daily summary, weekly summary. So if the student sets up their settings of when it's, as soon as you put something up, it will notify them, but it's up to the student.
Okay. All right, I think that's about it. Very good. That's it.
All right, cool.
Question.
Hope
Unless
that helped everybody.
Mhm.
If you have
Yeah.
any more questions.
Yeah. Oh, can we control them not receiving the quiz ahead of time?
Yes, so you can lock assignments. I don't have any, do I have a quiz on this one? Let's see what I have here. So when you do, so what I do for my classes, and I think this answers an earlier question of when you can lock assignments, so students can still see the due dates. So I just do due dates. So when it's due by, but what you can do here, if you go available from until, what that does is it sets it when it opens and then it sets it when it closes. Okay, and you can set all kinds of parameters on quizzes. I mean, that's a longer conversation. There's also a 3CSN video on quizzes and different types of assessments, but that's how you would lock that down here. So you can, when it opens up and when it closes. And you can do that for assignments, for discussions, you can do it for anything. I like things to be open and I like people to access it early. And I let people turn in late stuff with the penalties. So it's your own personal philosophy. And just so you know, like what this is right here, this is a good example of mitigating student mistakes. We probably all have that one assignment where a third of the class makes that same mistake every single time. And then you ask yourself, what can I do? A couple of things. One, doing callbacks, explaining the errors. And I do this now. So it's called a Saving You Points quiz. So it's a little quiz that highlights the mistakes that people normally make on the assignment. And then what I do is that I set it up where I say, okay, so here's the quiz, here are the biggest recording mistakes. And I have read all of these pages and I understand that if I do not submit work that looks like the samples, it's very possible I will lose a lot of points. So before they even get to that assignment, they have to engage in this and answer that. And I have to admit, the number of students, like this one class that I'm teaching, I don't think I had a single student make the mistake that they normally make with this assignment because of the samples and because of this quiz. It's been great. So a lot of times it's not necessarily lessening the content. It's how you have your students engage in the content that enhances their success.
Okay, that's it.
All right, cool. Great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Happy Tuesday, I think. I don't even know what day is it anymore.
Yes.